In this lesson, this is lesson number 17, English for Everyone, Level 3 practice book. This lesson is going to be about, let's see, this lesson is about comparing places, comparando lugares. All right, you guys can tell I got a, I got a haircut. Ya soy militar. Um, All right, comparing places. So we're going to use something called modifiers, and we're also going to use comparatives, and we're also going to use superlatives. All right. I'm going to do something here real quick. Okay, what is a superlative? Superlative. All right, a superlative is like when we say the best or the greatest or um the best, the greatest, the most awesome, the most delicious. Okay, it's cuando algo es lo mejor. This is something called a superlative. A superlative. All right. Lo mejor o lo más asombroso o lo más delicioso. Okay, lo más. O también puede ser lo menos, the worst, o lo más pequeño, the smallest, o etc. All right. A comparative would be words like this, like bigger or smaller or taller. Okay, comparatives are así, más grande, más pequeño, más alto. Muchas veces añadimos ER al final de la palabra. Generalmente, si la palabra es una palabra pequeña, de como de 2 sílabos, vamos a añadir ER. Pero si sea una palabra más larga, muchas veces vamos a hacerlo de otra manera. Ok, por ejemplo, aquí, we would say, no vamos a decir awesomer, sino more awesome. More awesome, no more awesome, more awesome, ¿ok? Generalmente, si es una palabra más larga, de más que 2 sílabos, puede ser más que un sílabo. Muchas veces vamos a decir more y después la palabra more awesome, more amazing. Pero si sea una palabra corta, muchas veces vamos a hacerlo así, bigger, smaller, taller. Okay? All right. What is a modifier? A modifier es una palabra así, slightly, much, a bit. Okay? Modifier. Slightly, much, a bit. Son palabras que significan, por ejemplo, un poco, mucho, un poquito. Son palabras que they are words that modify the word that comes after it. Okay, they tell us a little bit more specifically. They describe the relationship or the situation or whatever a little more specifically. All right. Let's go ahead and get started here. And I'm going to go over here. So, okay, here, as you guys can see, these are modifiers, a lot or much. Sería en español mucho. También a bit or slightly sería un poco. And then this is the comparative, taller. Taller than, más alto que. This is the comparative. And then this is the noun, the building. All right. The modifier goes before, como en español. The palace is much more beautiful than the factory. El palacio es mucho más bonito que the factory. No me acuerdo cómo se dice factory. La fábrica, creo. El palacio es mucho más bonito que el factory. The modifier goes before more. Como en español, mucho, more beautiful than, más bonito que la fábrica. All right, let's get started. Look at the pictures and cross out the incorrect words in each sentence. All right. The school is slightly or much bigger than the bank. The school is much bigger than the bank. Aunque la foto no es muy buena porque para mí no es mucho más grande. Para mí es, no sé. La foto no es muy buena, pero vamos a decir, the school is much bigger than the bank. La escuela es mucho más grande que el banco. All right. This one, number one, the hospital is a lot taller than the church, or the hospital is a bit taller than the church. We're going to say a lot taller. The hospital is a lot taller than the church. Aunque tampoco es buena la foto. Porque realmente para mí no es a lot, sino es, tampoco es a bit, solamente es taller. Si fuera a lot taller, sería más como así bien grande. That's a lot taller. Okay. Number two, the airport is much bigger than the station, or the airport is slightly bigger than the station. This one is going to be the airport is slightly bigger than the station. I don't think it's not really that much bigger. It's bigger, but it's not that much bigger. Slightly. Significa un poco. Un poco. All right. The cafe is much smaller than the factory, or the cafe is a bit smaller than the factory. This one is going to be much. Okay, there's a big difference in the size here. The cafe is indeed much smaller than the factory. The tower is much taller than the tree, or the tower is slightly taller than the tree. The tower here, it's only slightly taller than the tree. Solo es un poquito más alto. Okay. Number five, the hotel is a bit smaller than the castle, or the hotel is a lot smaller than the castle. All right, this word smaller significa más pequeño. Vamos a decir que es mucho más pequeño. Solamente no es mucho más bajo, pero es mucho más pequeño, sí. Bueno, para mí no es mucho más bajo porque así es la diferencia, ¿no? Pero mucho más pequeño, sí. All right. This one. Say the sentences out loud, putting the adjectives in the comparative form. All right, we're going to work on this. This is, like I said at the beginning, usually when it's a small word, we're just going to add ER. ER. In Spanish, much taller. Bueno, in English, much taller. In Spanish, mucho más alto. Mucho más alto. Vamos a añadir ER para ponerlo en esa forma. The tree is much taller than the house. El árbol es mucho más alto que la casa. Number one, the school is slightly than the church. This one is going to be the school is slightly bigger than the church. The school is slightly bigger than the church. Sorry, the school is slightly bigger than the church. The hill is much tall than the tree. This one is going to be the hill is much taller than the tree. The hill, como el monte, es mucho más alto que el árbol. The house is much blank than the palace. The house is much smaller The house is much smaller than the palace. The car is much fast than the bike. This one is going to be the car is much faster than the bike. The door is much blank than the window. This one is going to be the door is much wider than the window. The door is much wider than the window. Si yo pregunto, voy a inventar una pregunta aquí. Voy a pensar en algo. The new Avengers movie is than the first. All right. Si yo pregunto esto, the new Avengers movie is awesome than the first one. ¿Cómo vamos a responder? Ok, no vamos a decir awesomer. Awesomer no es una palabra correcta. Vamos a decir, en este caso, more awesome. It's more awesome than the first. O muchas veces diríamos better. The new Avengers movie is better than the first one. Porque the new Avengers movie is more awesome than the first one. Sí es correcto, pero no es una oración, no sería muy común decirlo así, de esa forma, pero sí es correcto. Pero solo quería dar un ejemplo de que no siempre añadimos ER con palabras más largas. Muchas veces vamos a poner more y después la palabra, como en español, más asombroso. Aunque no creo que se traduce exactamente así, pero tienen la idea. Más rápido, ¿no? En inglés faster, pero a veces también colocamos la palabra more. Okay. All right, this one. Rewrite the sentences putting the words in the correct order. The Mekong is one of the longest rivers in Asia. All right, the Mekong is one of the longest rivers in Asia. The longest is a superlative, longest. Más largo, más largo. Okay, it's uno de los ríos más largo en Asia. This one, y voy a darles unos momentos, puedes ver las oraciones aquí, haz pausa, puedes contestarlas y después puedes escuchar las respuestas correctas porque voy a ir rápido. Tallest the city easily the building office in is this one is going to be the office is easily the tallest building in the city. The office is easily the tallest building in the city. La oficina es de lejos el edificio más alto en la ciudad. Easily, de lejos. The office is easily the tallest, lo más alto, el edificio más alto, tallest building, the tallest building, el edificio más alto en la ciudad, in the city. All right. The Pacific is by far the biggest ocean. The Pacific is by far the biggest ocean. Acuérdense que muchas veces vamos a poner Vamos a poner um, ¿cómo se llama esta palabra otra vez? The, creo que esta palabra es the adverb, adverbio después de is. O sea, si la palabra es is, si el verbo es is, the adverb va a ir después de is. Si sea otro verbo, va a ir antes. Pero en el caso de is, va a ir después. Dame un momentito, voy a pausar por un momento. Ok, vamos a seguir. Em, Quería chequear, sí. Easily es un adverbio, un adverb. By far es un adverb, un adverbio. Son adjetivos, tallest, biggest, bueno, son superlativos, pero es una forma de adjetivo. Ok, vamos a seguir. Vamos a ver. Ok. Um, Sudan is Sudan is one of the hottest countries of all. Sudan is uno de los hottest countries of all, países más calorosos del mundo, de todos. Ok, Sudán es uno de los países más calurosos de todos. Sudan is one of the hottest countries of all. Antarctica is Antarctica is one of the coldest places on Earth. Coldest places on Earth. Antarctica es uno de los lugares más fríos en el mundo. Que hay en el mundo. Antarctica is one of the coldest places on Earth. Okay, vamos a seguir. Listen to the audio and listen to the audio, then number the pictures in the order they are described. Voy a tocar, voy a tocar el audio aquí para que escuchemos. Vamos a hacer esta actividad. I'm gonna pull up the audio on my phone and we can listen and do this activity. All right. Okay. I'm gonna see if hopefully there we go. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and play the audio. We're gonna go with number one is already answered. We're gonna go to number two. Let's listen. Well, let's do number one. Vamos a hacer número uno y escuchar. ¿Qué dice?
One of the trees is much bigger than the other.
One of the trees is much bigger than the other. Much bigger. This one is much bigger than this one. This one is much smaller than this one. Number two.
One of the lakes is slightly wider than the other.
One of the lakes is slightly wider than the other. This one would be much wider, much wider. This one is just slightly wider. It's a little bit wider, but not that much wider. So this one is going to be the correct one. One of the lakes is slightly wider than the other one. Number 3.
One of the trees is a bit taller than the other.
One of the trees is a bit taller than the other. All right. This tree is much taller than this one. This tree is a bit taller than this one. A bit taller. Un poco más alto. Number 4.
One of the lakes is a lot wider than the other.
One of the lakes is a lot wider than the other. This one is a bit wider. This one is a lot wider than this one. A lot wider. All right. Number 5.
One of the houses is much taller than the other.
One of the houses is much taller than the other. One of the houses is much taller. I think it's gonna be maybe F. Both of these could be correct. Let's skip this one. I think it's gonna be F, but let's go with F, and we can change it if we were wrong, but I think this is gonna be the best answer. Let's go to number 6.
One of the tables is much lower than the other.
One of the tables is much lower than the other. This one is much lower than this one. Whoops, this is going to be number 6. All right, and the last one.
One of the houses is much wider than the other.
Okay. One of the houses is much wider, mucho más ancho, mucho más ancho de la otra. That's going to be this one. Perfect. We are done with this one. All right. Rewrite the sentences correcting the errors. The palace is, and I'm going to put this speaker back in. Let me see if this will work. There we go. Perfect. All right. The palace is much beautiful than the factory. This needs to say the palace is much more beautiful than the factory. Es como decir en español, el palacio es mucho bonito que la fábrica. Tenemos que decir mucho más bonita que la fábrica. The clock tower is much more old than the palace. All right. Remember, with short words like this one is just a 1-syllable word, a little short word. So old is going to change to, en vez de more old, vamos a decir older. Okay, we're going to add ER. The clock tower is much older than the palace. The clock tower is much older than the palace. Number 2, this is by far the better book I've ever read. ¿Por qué no es correcto? All right. Porque si decimos better, tenemos que estar comparando este libro con otro libro. ¿Ok? Pero no estamos comparando este libro con ningún otro libro. Entonces no tiene sentido. Tiene que ser un superlativo aquí. This is by far the best book I've ever read. This is by far the best book I've ever read. Este es de lejos el libro más bueno que jamás he leído. Ok. El mejor libro. No es, este es el libro, no se traduce en español, pero sí, the better book es que tiene que comparar este libro con otro. Pero si decimos the best, ese significa lo mejor de todos, lo mejor la mejor de todos, en este caso todos los que he leído. Okay, your house is much biggest than mine. ¿Por qué no es correcto? Porque biggest es un superlativo. Biggest significa lo más grande, pero lo más grande de todos o de cualquier lista que queremos poner. Pero estamos comparando dos casas, tu casa y mi casa. Your house is much bigger than mine. Your house is much bigger than mine. Así debe ser. The tower is a bit tall than the lighthouse. The tower is a bit tall than the lighthouse. This one should be the tower is a bit taller than the lighthouse. A bit taller. Taller. Más alto. We're comparing the tower and the lighthouse. The tower is a bit taller. The factory is slightly largest than the castle. The factory is slightly largest than the castle. This is a superlative, and we're comparing two things. So we're not going to use a superlative. We are going to use a comparative. The factory is slightly larger than the castle. The factory is slightly larger than the castle. All right. This will be the last activity here. Record breakers. Read the article and write answers to the questions as full sentences. Okay, see, if you want to pause, go ahead and pause here. I'm going to try to hopefully you all can read this. I'm not sure. Hopefully you all can read this. I'm going to pause here for a second. Voy a pausar. Si quieres leer, si quieres hacer pause, leer y contestar las preguntas, perfecto, porque voy a ir rápido. Okay? All right. Voy a pausar aquí por un momento para que puedas ver mejor la letra. Aquí. All right. Which is the largest desert in the world? The Sahara is the largest desert in the world. ¿Por qué? Porque dice aquí, by far the largest desert in the world is the Sahara in northern Africa. By far the largest desert in the world. Which is the second largest desert in the world? The second largest is the Arabian Desert. The Arabian Desert. All right, we have to write this in a complete sentence. So, how are we going to write this? The Arabian Desert is the second largest desert in the world. All right, we can write it like this. The Arabian Desert is the second largest desert in the world. The Arabian Desert is the second largest desert in the world. In which country is the wettest place on Earth? The wettest place on Earth is in Sinram in India. All right. In which country is the wettest place on Earth? So they're just looking for the country. The country is India. We can respond like this. The wettest place on Earth is in India. El lugar más, no sé cómo se dice, húmedo en la planeta está en la India, o el lugar más donde se llueve más en el mundo está en la India, algo así. Okay. Which place is slightly wetter than Cherrapunji? It's slightly wetter than Cherrapunji, which is 10 miles east. Okay. Mao Sinram. Mao Sinram, algo así. Mao Sinram is slightly wetter than Cherrapunji. Mao Sinram is slightly wetter than Cherrapunji. It is slightly wetter. Es un poco más húmedo. Húmedo. No sé cómo se dice wetter exactamente. Voy a ver. Wetter. Ok, más mojado. Sinram está un poco más mojado que Cherrapunji. What is by far the longest river in Africa? The Nile is by far the longest river in Africa. Podemos copiar la frase que ahí. The Nile is by far the longest river in Africa. What is by far the longest river in Africa? The Nile is by far the longest river in Africa. How much longer is the Nile than the Amazon? It's about 4,145 miles long and it flows through 5 countries. It's slightly longer than the Amazon, which is about 4,000 miles long. How much longer is the Nile than the Amazon? It's slightly longer than the Amazon. It's slightly longer than the Amazon. All right. What is the highest place in the world? Mount Everest in the Himalayas is the highest mountain in the world. Mount Everest is the highest mountain in the world. Okay. Ok, en español, voy a señalar que en español vamos a decir muchas veces, vamos a decirlo así. No sé cómo se dice Mount Everest, pero Mount Everest es la montaña más alta del mundo. ¿Ok? Pero en inglés, the modifier highest is, or bueno, highest is a superlative. The superlative goes before, ¿cómo se llama este? Is the highest, bueno, before the noun, before the sustantivo. So highest, the superlative goes first, and then the sustantivo. No es así como la montaña más alta, sino the highest mountain. Okay, it has to be switched. Superlative first, and then the sustantivo. How high is the highest place in the world? Let's see. All right, the highest place in the world is going to be 2,935 feet high. The highest place in the world is 29,035 feet high. The highest place in the world is 29,035 feet high. El lugar más alto del mundo es 29,000 pies de altura. Which is easily the deepest lake in the world? Lake Baikal in Russia is easily the deepest lake in the world. Lake Baikal in Russia is easily the deepest lake in the world. Deepest significa más profundo. It's 5,370 feet deep. It's about a mile deep. What is one of the largest lakes in the world? It's also one of the largest lakes in the world. Okay, Lake Baikal in Russia is one of the largest lakes in the world. Okay, it's easily the deepest lake in the world, and it's one of the largest lakes in the world. How much deeper is Baikal than the Caspian Sea? It's over 1,968 feet deeper than the Caspian Sea, which is the second deepest lake. It's over 1,968 feet deeper than the Caspian Sea. How much deeper is Baikal than the Caspian Sea? It's over 1,968 feet deeper than the Caspian Sea. Which is the second deepest lake in the world? The Caspian Sea is the second deepest lake in the world. The Caspian Sea is the second deepest lake in the world. Ok, mira aquí que ponemos primero the modifier, second, the second, that's the modifier. Let me go back here for a second. That is not what I think I'm on. Yeah. Okay. The modifier. All right. The second is the modifier in this case. The second. And then, well, let's see. Actually, I think the second deepest is all going to be the superlative. The second deepest. Yep. This is all the superlative. Estoy pensando en español, ¿cómo lo vamos a decir? The Caspian Sea es el lago segundo, es el lago, es el segundo más profundo lago en el mundo. O es el lago segundo más profundo en el mundo. Creo que se puede decir de cualquier modo. Pero bueno, this is the form once again. So the modifier goes first. Por ejemplo, by far. Then the superlative, the most expensive in this case, and then the noun, the sustantivo. All right. Okay. With that, we are done with this lesson 17. We will go on to likes and dislikes in the next lesson. See you guys next time.